Some days ago I had an argue with my uncle. Yes, my uncle, but not my uncle. In another of one of my videos we had that comment, and it's very interesting because you know, besides some joking, okay, but it opens a very interesting thing about parallel fifth and parallel octaves and the relationship between the style and the composers and the way to compose. So in this video I want to talk with you about this thing, showing you some examples and giving you my point of view, and then you can tell me what's your opinion about all these things in the comment of this video, and this will be a very interesting thing. Then, okay, John Rothfield, he wrote that comment, and then I replied, great question, John, because the third and the sixth are consonances, while the fourth is a dissonance with the bass, only when related to the bass, because if the fourth is not related with the bass, it's not a dissonance. I mean, it counts as a consonance. You can find 4 and 4/6 in several Bach's 4-part chorales, but usually they are on a speed weak beat and they work as a passing tone. Yes, the 4/6 can be used in many ways. When it is not in a cadence, the 4/6 can be used even as a passing tone. Arriving, for example, from this point, usually in chorales they are on a 3 at the place of a 3/4/6 when they are on a very fast level, like eighth notes. That way, and they tend to be stepwise. Why? Because this mi, fa, mi could sound too much harsh, stronger, accented for a chroma level. By the way, then, my uncle too, because I guessed that there is a my uncle 1, but I don't know, with that, replied, great video, I appreciate it, but we should also point out that nothing is unstable in music as long as you do intentionally. Unstable, maybe it's a word used for people who can't really grasp elementary basic things in music. You know, unstable. In music with unstable, especially when we talk about counterpoint, we are talking about something which wants to resolve. A dissonance is unstable because it wants to resolve to a consonant. So here unstable, I agree with you that unstable is a word which has a very high abstraction in general. But here, when we talk about consonances and dissonances, unstable, especially about the 4/6, which is a topic, means that the 4/6 wants to move to another point to become stable. So this is the framework, and it's not so abstract. By the way, okay, then I replied, so finish your yes composition with a 4/6 chord as the very last chord, you'll see that it's a very stable ending. Of course, a little of sarcasm to make clear, joking that we are talking about the stability, unstable or not stable, of the 4/6, especially of the fourth. A 4/6 chord as the last chord in a Baroque context is not a stable, it's just unpleasant. But it's a game of words. I mean, actually, it's pleasant, this 4/6. It's just unstable because it wants to resolve. So I can say that the 4/6 is very pleasant. Okay, if we put this on the level of the meaning you give to the words, unstable or unpleasant, if we can say, I know, we can call unstable or unpleasant the same meaning, we can call it bottle, so bottle is what we mean. So we are not talking about so different things at the end. The 4/6 can be very pleasant, but then it needs to resolve because it's unstable. But in another context, jazz film can be pleasant or a suspension. Again, it all depends on your intention. This is the main point, is the intention. And this is the point because if I want to compose something in Baroque style, my intention, count 0, I cannot finish with a 4/6, it's not common. So this is the main thing. Then I said, Baroque style depends a lot on the composer intention, otherwise you would have only boring composition. Keep learning, learn every day. One day a bit of compositional technique, Another day, some musical rhetoric. Then maybe some Baroque improvisation. On Patreon, inside the Musici Prattici community, I share exclusive content every day, every single day, to inspire you, to support you, and help you persevere in your journey. Videos, articles, and resources, and anything that can be useful for you. Go to our Patreon page, choose the contribution you'd like to give, and join us. This is the secret to every success. Keep learning, learn every day. Then, this is the main point. I say, personally, that Baroque style doesn't depend at all on the composer intention. Everything that passes through an individual or a thinking being, what I'm saying, is reinterpreted by them. There is always a contribution and personal touch, otherwise we would be machines, like a bit like modern pianists, no? Human MIDI players. So, now this page is cut. Okay, because the comment is here. However, yeah, I inverted the position. However, it is precisely those immutable things and fixed rules that make a style what it is. The personal input and contribution of each composer does not aim to attack, alter, or dismantle the rules of composition within that style. So it is incorrect to say that Baroque style itself depends heavily on the composer intentions, because that would apply to anything processed by a human being. It is more accurate to say that Baroque style depends on techniques, practices, conventions that are shared among composers in a specific period, in a specific region. Okay, French composers tend to do a lot of embellishment, but it's the fact that they do a lot of embellishments in some particular ways that it makes that music French, sounding French. For example, the use of consonances and dissonances, prepared and unprepared, including the 4-6 chord. You'll never find a Baroque piece ending on a 6-4 because it's unstable and resolves to the 4-5-3. Read the counterpoint rook books from different nations of the time of the Baroque period, and you'll find many things in common. Fenaroli, Durante, German composition, Samber, French. There are things which define the style. Then the composer, of course, makes it different by himself. But what makes it sound Baroque is not the contribution of the composer itself. Look at music across the different national styles, Italian, French, German, and you see, England style, and you see certain elements handled in exactly the same way. So what you're saying is false. It's not the Baroque style that depends on the composer, it's the national styles, the local styles maybe, more than the composer here, the traditions, and the personal styles that reflects intentions, tastes, and local approaches. Bach, Bohm, Buxtehude, they are from Germany, Pachelbel. Then the period, the traditions, and the personal touch makes their composition different, but they are all Baroque because all of them follow the same rules. When we speak of Baroque style in general, very little, if anything, depends on the composer's individual intention. Then, to joke a little, thus is decided Kurt is adjourned, because when I wrote this, it seems like a verdict. So this is the key for tuning the harpsichord and Walter piston. Thus is decided Kurt is adjourned. Now, the thing continues and becomes very interesting. Then my uncle replies, I didn't say that the entire Baroque style depends on a single composer. True. And I didn't say that you said this, but you said that it depends on the composer intention, okay? Composer's intention. So if we talk about Bach, Baroque styles depends on the composer, so in that case Bach, it's implied that you say the composer intention, the framework is that if you take one single composer, it depends on his intentions. At least, this is logic, eh? Where did you say that? Where did you say that? Let's take it here. Here. Again, it all depends on your intentions, and let's take a Baroque style, that point, grasp elements, another just film. Baroque style depends a lot on the composer intention. Here it is. So, on a single composer for Bach himself, on a single composer from Handel itself. Of course, there's no exchange of personality like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. In this case, you are misquoting me, but I didn't say this. By the way, didn't say this. But a lot of it depends on the composer intentions. Yes, but not the Baroque style. Not the Baroque style. The final result. The fact that it sounds Baroque doesn't depend on the personal touch of the composer. The creativity of the Baroque period is well shown not just by those great composers, okay, but the partimenti that you are showing so well in your videos. As a student of your course, you are taught all kinds of things, but this happens for any genre, okay, true. Baroque style has no rigid rules. Let me read it. Eh? Baroque style has no rigid rules. I say it later. It has only suggestions. Suggestions, eh? Here we are reframing the words. This is a beautiful reframing because according to the period and the taste of the period, suggestions. There are no rules. So the fact that they call rules of counterpoint, rules to play the keyboard, no, there are no rules. Now we have to call Scarlatti or Durante, which are died, and say, no, you have to change the title. Don't write rules, write suggestions for playing the harpsichord or to accompany, suggestions for accompaniment. Manuals and strict rules are usually coming from minor composer or teachers. Durante, it's a very minor composer and teacher. Eh? All great composers were actually well known for innovating and breaking those rules, which they studied and they knew very well and they applied in the 99% of their compositions. Then the fact that they are breaking them, it's the confirmation of the fact that they applied them a lot of time and they knew well, very well. Don't get me wrong, I love your videos. Yes, of course, it's not something personal, we are talking about a topic. A discussion. But don't allow manuals or stupid teachers, for example, like Durante and the other Fenaroli, the other writers, authors of musical treatises. I don't know if they fall in these manuals of stupid teachers. I don't know. To brainwash you into thinking that the Baroque depends a lot on immutable things, you'll find exception for any rule, even in the Baroque period. Of course, exceptions are everywhere, in anything, even in muffin. You can do the muffin according to the general rule, you can do the baguette, the perfect French baguette, and then you can do some exceptions in any situation. It's too much abstract, this, in my opinion, this reply. By the way, I did Ctrl C Ctrl F and the phrase single composer only appears in your message, so maybe you misread my reply and therefore you are the one who misquoted me. By the way, these are okay. Let's arrive to the substance. Then, aside from that I completely disagree with your version. And in fact, I find that what you're saying to be totally wrong, as already shown you. Okay, sometimes we have different visions, okay? We don't have to agree always. And then my uncle too replied, hopefully you will understand one day. Let's hope it. do my best every day to understand this. I'll give you an essay, find me some examples of parallel fifths and or octaves between any two voices in the Baroque period. And now you're challenging me. And then, hopefully, there are many examples of parallel fifths and parallel octaves, and I'll tell you more. I even know an example of parallel unisons by Bach. There are also examples of parallel octaves by other composers. Before this, I want to show you one thing. Before I said I'll tell you later, then I was about to forget about it. We were talking about the fact that he said that Baroque style doesn't depend a lot, doesn't depend on, okay, Baroque style has no rigid rules, it has only suggestions. Now, just to show you something, you know, Frescobaldi wrote a piece where he wanted to break the rule of counterpoint. And now, let me find it because it's here in keyboard pieces. He wanted to clearly write the strict rules of counterpoint that he called this piece Capriccio cromatico con legature al contrario, which means that the ligatures, the suspensions work al contrario, in the contrary way, in the opposite way, as they are supposed to do according to the rules of counterpoint. So it's so strange this that he wrote it. Otherwise, someone could say, but what the fuck, what's this fucking thing that the fourth is resolving to the third ascending, the dissonance is resolving ascending. Look at this, look at this. Ta, 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 ta. Now the 9 should resolve down, but according to our friend, according to my uncle, this should be a suggestion, not a rigid rule. Indeed, it's a rigid rule to resolve the 9th as suspension descending, but Frescobaldi resolved the 9th ascending. And it's so important that in the title of the composition he wrote al contrario, so resolving in the contrary way. By the way, now let's come back to the main thing. Then there are two examples where we can see something interesting. Here. One more thing. If you want to learn to compose Baroque music in the Baroque style with the correct rules, because you need to know the rules, otherwise you may have a good musicality, you may even write do good compositions, but if you don't follow the most important and even sometimes very basic principles of Baroque composition like suspensions, diminutions, the way to use ligatures, the way to do imitations, the way to proper do imitation and fugues according to the several 8 tones or 12 modes, if you do something which is Baroque but maybe strictly related to even an ancient tradition from the Renaissance, in Cantus Firmus, etc., etc., you need to know rules, and so you can apply for the musical practical apprenticeship, where we do one-to-one online meeting here, so you can even see the keyboard, and we work together and I'll teach you how to compose music in this period. We can plan a personalized path according to your background and your experience. You'll find a link here in the description of what you need to do, so there is a link, go there, tell me a little about your background, and then I'll better know how I can help you. So, just a little information here. Would you like to compose music like a Musicus of the Renaissance or Baroque? Imagine a custom-made path with a mentor guiding you step by step. No confusion, no abstract theory, just real music. Partimenti, counterpoint, cadences, fugues, solmization. Each month I work with a small number of musicians in a one-to-one program designed for complete beginners, experienced musicians seeking a clear method, anyone who wants to truly live early music, not just study it from the outside. Want to apply? Send me a message through the form at this link and tell me who you are and your background, what you already know and your current skill, where you would like to go, your goals. I reply within 24 hours, and if it's a good match, let's begin the journey together. Okay, now let's continue. Let's look at this at two separate cases. Balbastre. Here we have an example. Balbastre, page 6, measure 37. The two parallel octaves are clearly a mistake. What does it mean? Here I'm talking about this composition, and this composition, which is here in the same folder, here it is, Balbastre, page, we said, so let's do this way so we can keep both open. Page 6, measure 37, so here, 37, there are two parallel octaves. Here they are. In that case, La, Fa, Mi, they are a mistake. They are a mistake. This is a case of a mistake of parallel octaves, so we cannot say that they are within the composer intention. By analyzing each case closely, you can understand when it's a mistake and when it's the composer's intentions to preserve another musical element. So this is an example of a mistake, maybe a mistake in the original press, not a mistake of the composer. Maybe the composer wrote something Re, Fa, Mi, or La, La, Mi, something else, we don't know. Then Bach, page 26, measure 41. The two parallel unisons are clearly a conscious choice by Bach to preserve the thematic melody of the violins with the chorale. In vocal compositions with instrument, it's common practice to occasionally double the voice in parallel octaves or unison, but in this particular case, in this specific piece, it is the only point where this issue appears. The vocal musical context softens this specific instance, unlike the instrumental version found in the Schubler chorales, where Bach wisely corrects the issues by adding a portamento. I mean, it's not Bach who corrects the issues. This is a little typo. Probably it's it's Schubler himself who made that collection that added that thing. Now I show you what added: the head note, a portamento in the tenor voice, so that the parallel unisons won't be perceived on the instruments. I show you very quickly the example we're talking about. We are talking about this. In this cantata, there is the very, very famous aria. This one. Let's arrive to the aria. Here we are, the chorale actually. And the counterpoint and the compositional elements are so strict and important that Bach writes the first 8 bars and then it continues repeating the same elements. What happens is that in a certain point here, we have the first instrument here, which is written in a viola alto clef, and here we have the tenor which is singing but with the violin treble clef. So what happens here is that the viola is singing this, and the tenor si va et to, the same notes. They are not octave, they are unison. Now, with the voice makes sense because many times happens in the arias that the voice doubles the other instrument. Okay, the other instruments, it can happen. So it may arrive from that kind of writing, and even from the fact that the singer can add other diminutions and ornamentations without singing the chorale that way. But in the version which is conceived, transcribed, adapted for the organ, Schubler, look, adds this portamento so that you don't perceive any more parallel unisons, even if you play on 2 different manuals with 2 different instruments, but 3, 4, 5, 3, that way. So here it's very, very, very important to understand the framework. Now, Let's come back, and then I said, so we can conclude that breaking the rules in these cases happens in clearly defined, justified and logical context. The rules are not overturned by the composer's intention, rather the composer remains faithful to Baroque style by following the rules in 99% of the pieces of the piece, and in this one specific spot takes a poetic license, a term often used by Italian musicians to draw a parallel with poetry, meaning a conscious and deliberate deviation from the main rule. But the rule itself still stands, and precisely because it stands and is valid, it's what makes that style what it is. That's what makes the composition Baroque, because it follows the rhetorical, compositional, contrapuntal rules of the Baroque style, which take precedence over the composer's whims and intention. Therefore, your thesis does not hold up. This is the verdict of the Court of Appeal. Careful, we are almost at the Supreme Court, and the session is now adjourned. And then, by the way, this is the main thing. Now, I don't see if there is another page. No, because this is at the end the last thing. By the way, this is the point. When we talk about Baroque style, there are some rules that matter a lot, and that's why many composers try to, even very good composers, try to compose in Baroque style, and they don't sound Baroque, okay? They don't sound Baroque, let's be honest, don't sound Baroque. Me too, many times in my past, when I didn't know some rules and frameworks to think in Baroque style and to compose in Baroque style, I made a lot of other compositions which then I destroyed because they didn't sound Baroque. And what helped me in making them sound Baroque is a study of the rules. Then, of course, my personal touch, your personal touch in your compositions, Bach's personal touch, Vivaldi's personal touch, Corelli, Couperin's personal touch, makes that piece different. But the rules of that period, and even of the practices, the common practices, is what make them Baroque. So you'll find all the link that I show you of this course here in the description with the number of the pages, so you can see these examples by yourself. And then if you want to apply for one-to-one specific lessons on Baroque musical composition with partimenti, fugue, you want to learn to compose dances, suite, allemands, sarabands, I've already said fugue, yes, and other things, get in touch with me. Of course, my day has 24 hours, so I have to make a selection. Check the description and see you very soon. Do you want to learn how to compose music in the Renaissance or Baroque style? If you're at the beginning of your musical journey, or a professional looking to deepen your knowledge of early music, the best path may be a guided integrated course. Composing in the style of the 16th century or the 17th and 18th century requires much more than knowing harmony and counterpoint. You need to navigate a vast world, including solmization, fugue, cantus firmus, mensural notation, partimenti, dances, chorales and more. To avoid getting lost, you need an experienced guide, a Musicus Practicus who knows the path, walks beside you step by step, and helps you overcome each challenge with tailored exercises, attentive feedback, and continuous dialogue. Have a question about a topic? We'll discuss it. Stuck on an exercise? We'll work through it together. Want to go deeper into a subject? We'll tackle it with focus. Every month, I accept a limited number of apprentice musicians, like you, for a program of personalized one-to-one lessons, where I guide them in learning to compose in the Renaissance and Baroque style. How it works? During our one-to-one lessons, we focus on 2- and 3-voice composition, counterpoint and partimenti, practical exercises on historical style, schemata, cadences, voice leading, models, patterns, and much more. During the week, you'll also follow recorded lessons on repertoire analysis, pattern structure, tones and modes in polyphony, rhythm of historical dances, and everything else you need to progress. This way, each individual lesson becomes focused, effective, and productive. If you'd like to apply for the musical apprenticeship program, go to the link and fill out the form telling me your musical background, studies, experiences, instruments, what you play, your current skill, what you can compose, if you know partimenti, chorales, anything else, and your goals, what you would like to learn in the short, medium, and long term. I'll personally read your message and get back to you within 24 hours to let you know how we can work together. Don't miss the spot and learn to compose music as if you had lived in the Renaissance or in the Baroque.